some dirty dishes I'm gonna bust out before my next one. And I want to thank y'all again for tuning in. And I want to address something that I talked about with someone. He was kind enough to share with me, and he gave me a tip, which I appreciate, a donation tax deductible. But more importantly, he shared his life and his experience. And that's so important. And here's what I said in response is something like, we have so much what I consider smut on demand, which is akin to junk food, and we don't have enough warm social connection, which is more like a homemade meal around the table with lots of love, laughter, and conversation. Now, to be clear, I'm not judging anyone that is looking at content, legal adult content, but I don't believe consent is the best measure of everything. I think it's definitely commitment. Commitment is not a bad thing. Neither is covenant, as I'm learning, and I'm learning so much every day. A covenant is a contract made with a third person involved, namely God. So when we make a covenant, whether or not you believe in God, we make a covenant, that's not saying you're not going to back out of the contract. It's not a contract, it's a covenant. You're going to search out that thing in yourself. You're going to communicate the thing in your partner, your spouse, your loved one. It's not working, and then you're going to move forward. Why am I talking on this? Because over the years I have seen things in Spokane change. Some things for the good, some things for the better. And I do want to say, I think it's good that the local new dance club, Deja Vu, recently closed. The bad part is it put some people out of business, some women out of business, men out of business, LGBTQIA plus folks out of business. For the most part, it's women, many of whom are mothers. Notice I didn't say single mothers. I don't recognize that term. You're a mother, you're a father, you're a parent, or you're not. That no one should do it alone or be single, and there should be no such thing as an unwanted child. Hello there, Sagar. Yes, you know that's my name, Big Auntie. That's what they call me, Tia, Tante. So, good morning. Hello, y'all. So, I was hoping that some of these healthcare nurse assistant videos that I've got on this YouTube page could help people transition from any kind of work that is not the best to a different kind of work. And I've learned over the years that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Now, I've been putting salt in the oats because there are local businesses in Spokane, Washington called the Bikini Barista area, meaning that they serve coffee in a bikini, and they won't even hire these laid off nude dancers. And it's not a joke, it's not funny, it's not silly. I just hope that you'll consider that, right? And all of your browsing, I've had some of you be angry that I've taken my videos of the Yorkie Yoga, the birth asanas down. I want to stay focused on the veteran work, and just know that I appreciate you, but those Yorkie Yoga videos are not the videos I have up. The core of my work is, and always will be, as a nurse assistant, home care aide, notary public, business consultant, medical cannabis consultant to veterans and their families. Amen. Military families. Hey, that individual may not have agreed with the war. They may not even agree with America. They may not even like the side of the American flag. But they raised their right hand and swore to protect the United States of America because they believe in a mission higher than themselves. I believe in the free market. I don't believe in corporate fascism, as I've said earlier. And I want to thank you all for tuning in, but just tell you that my content here and on Fansly will be with clothes on. I see nothing explicit or crude about doing yoga in my own home. That's a routine I've done for many years. I really didn't expect to have such an overwhelming response and that I'm beautiful. And thank you for telling me my backside was good. Well, I didn't always get that response. I was somewhat scared to put it out there, but I'm glad I did, because if it could help anybody, that's good. Am I trying bikini? Honey, I don't know what bikini I could wear. I think I'd pop out of it. And I've never seen the sense of spending $300 on a little stringy bikini and just, and the rest of the world, they go naked and they swim. Well, thank you for saying I'm perfect. Well, I think we're all perfect in our imperfections. But yeah, I'll look at a bikini, but for the most part, I think I just need to be with my comfy dresses on, because it is still so hot. But y'all just vibe on that. I don't know if that happens in your community. You know, when I was a very foolish young woman in Atlanta, Georgia, I worked at, the primary one was 1905 Piedmont Avenue, what was then the hot spot. I believe it's now Platinum 21. Ladies galore on Cheshire Bridge Road. And I learned a lot. And I learned a lot as a kid in the 1970s. And I had a certain disgust for a lot of the, I call it sickness on demand. And I'm not putting anyone down, but truly, that was before there were many zoning laws. I'm talking about a triple X smut shop that's next door to an elementary school. And, you know, we always talk a good game at these little, quote, diversity, equity, and inclusion ceremonies, but then you go into my hometown in Lakeland, Florida. Oh, back in the day, it was right off of 10th and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, near Brothers Grocery. And you could see, you know, a Pentecostal church right next to a liquor store. Now over in another neighborhood, let's say Lake Hollingsworth neighborhood, oh no, the zoning laws wouldn't allow that. But you let some black folks or some poor white trash or the other part be in that neighborhood, and it just seemed like all that was bunched up, and that's just nasty, y'all. We need to have more love for each other. So if you're watching this, you're a small business person, you know, a woman, a man, a person who's been laid off from the sex industry or the nude dancing thing. I'll tell you what, I've never met a dumb stripper. We're all a little crazy, but give them a chance. You know, give them something they can do. Or might be good at hospitality. Don't let them hold your money, but might be good at administration, organization, and then let them earn their own money. And you're a small business person like me, you've learned what's up, especially when you're working with people who are in transition, might have just gotten out of jail, like the city jail or the big house, the state or the federal penitentiary. And you don't pay them by the day, because they may not be back the next day. They may, and that's not saying they're bad, but they haven't experienced getting cash in their hand in that long, and it can kill them. You know, they might go out and make the same mistake that got them in jail in the first place. But give them a chance, right? Manage that in such a way that we can uplift one another. I'm not hating on what people want to look at, but I bear my testimony as this, is that men and women are equal in value, opposite in form and function. And when you have a culture where so many wives turn their husbands out of the home, so many husbands hit their wives, so many children are turned against their mother and father by drugs, adultery, etc. That's just not a healthy building block of society. So I found that ironic living down in the quote Bible Belt. That everybody criticized and seemed like they really had a lot of dirty laundry going on. I really am more of a right-wing maniac, but I tell you what, I know a lot of gay couples who did a much better job keeping their family together, taking care of their aging parents, than people who just, they get up in the ceremonies and clap and talk about stuff. So that's where I'm vibing on what Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowry said. Let's move from ceremony to sacrament. Can you even imagine? In the time that Jesus Christ walked the earth, if a little girl didn't have a father, she was forced into sex work, much like little boys and girls are today. So I'm vibing on that. I'm particularly thinking of the women in Spokane, Washington that are having a difficult time transitioning now that the Deja Vu strip club is closed. It used to be the Micah movie theater right on Sprague Avenue. We had years ago some horrible murders and killings in that area. Thank God for law enforcement that Robert Lee Yates is in prison for the rest of his life. But what's even more disturbing is that I did read in the newspaper years ago when all that was going on and all these children were coming up murdered, but they were reported in newspapers and on radio and TV stations as prostitutes. They don't matter. A 15-year-old child matters. And generally they were foster children. They're vulnerable. They've got major daddy issues. So yeah, they're going to get in the van of somebody who's a sweet talker, offers to buy them a meal, waves a little cash at them, tells them they're beautiful. There it is. So y'all, what I said in another video, I said something about hijab. I meant it with no disrespect. I don't want to get into any debate. I'm not any expert on the Middle East, but I do have Moorish blood. I found that through my 23andMe. I have ancestry from Cyprus on the Middle East end, not the Greek end. And I've always had an affection for people from the Muslim world in Florida. There are a lot of people from the Muslim world. There are a lot of people, period. And I notice when I wear hijab, particularly in a big city, when I'm walking around, that I am treated with more respect, even a little bit of fear. That's a good thing. So how am I to judge? Who am I to judge? But I am saying, just be mindful that there are women in the world who would get killed for doing yoga on video like that. So let's just remember that and be in a spirit of decency. Let's not treat every man like he is, evil or a pedophile because he's taking his baby into a public restroom to change their soiled clothes. And let's not treat women and babies like criminals because they're breastfeeding in public. That's what I want to say. I don't think America really knows the difference between passion and purity, and that those things can be recoupled, and the product of sex is children. Amen. I heard LL Cool J say it this morning. He said, no, I'm not changing my sexy videos or my sexy songs. And people say, well, let's release what did he say? The Khaki and Penny Loafers version of this song for the kids. And he said, no, I won't do it because where do you think kids came from? Great point. Thank you, LL Cool J, for having the backbone. And for standing in your manhood and your masculinity to say, no, I will not change that. Because we all have free will. This is a free market economy. If you don't like LL Cool J's sexy songs, switch it off, honey. Because we're talking about life. Because anything that's so smutty that you see this stuff on the internet where people have slut written on their forehead with lipstick and they look scared. I can't feature who would find that sexy, but I do know I have respect for people who come forward and say, I have a pornography addiction or whatever it is. I've worked on all kind of levels and it could be kind of scary, but I have hella respect for men who come forward and say, I'm having thoughts of killing someone, and they might be in a wheelchair and they might be a veteran, they might be put out, but believe me, if they're having those thoughts and they're coming forward, they've done an honorable thing, and they can move past those thoughts, and we can prevent violent incidents. And I'm vibing on all this because I believe the temptation for murder is greater for men because testosterone, and the temptation for sex work may be greater for women because of estrogen, because of daddy issues, whatever it is. But all that, it can be corrected, right? We don't have to be in the status of being sick all the time, being a broken record, and just repeating the same mistakes. When I was like that, and I still get like that, where I'm dramatizing victimization. It seems like you're on a train. It's on a continuous loop that's departing and arriving at dysfunction junction. And that's where you notice there are articles put out, studies put out, especially during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, that healthcare workers are unhealthy. They get addicted to narcotics. They smoke cigarettes. I can tell you why that is, because I've worked many shifts, whether it's in a hospital, skilled nursing facility, assisted living center. Cigarette smokers or vapors, or the people who vape, they're the only ones that take their legally mandated breaks. The rest of the caregivers just work right through. And that's sad that we cope with stress and we take a break to do a cigarette like that. And I mean, that's America. Our healthcare system is more like death management. If you want to build a culture where all lives have equal value, then we need to start knowing that we might have opposite forms and functions. One's going to be a baby, one's going to be an elder. One's a man, one's a woman. One's transgender, one's, a priest. But we can all work together. We can all have love. Personal relationships, more important than personal opinions. So listen, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to get back to my other work. And remember, when it's time to take care of ourselves and others, it's always Heidi Duty time.